Will I be doing it again? No. Why would you? And she actually called me out loud in front of a lot of people a coward as she walked away. And so in a loud voice, I projected my voice toward her and said, yeah, that's right. We're all out here, us street photographers, just begging to have someone like you walk into our scene so that all of our work can be so appreciated around the world. And I'm sorry if I sound like a narc and a smart ass, but I didn't need to be spoken to like that in the middle of the street. So here we are again. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're here for the first time, thanks so much for checking out the content. So a few weeks ago, whilst we were still in June 2025, I had my second business trip to Melbourne for the year. And I went down there on a Sunday, got there in time to settle into my accommodation and then get out and about in the afternoon and get some low setting sun street photography done. Relatively productive session, I thought. And unexpectedly, I had a second and third opportunity to get out and about. And on the, I can't remember if it was the second or third time, but whenever it was, I went out late one afternoon after a day of work thinking that I had a crap load of time left with the sun, or enough time. But very, very quickly I realised that the sun was setting down low enough so that the CBD buildings were covering it. Who'd have thought? And that I was running out of light really quickly, and I realised this as I was reaching Flinders Street Station and then considering going left and going up Swanston Street. Now, for those that are familiar with Melbourne, a lot of trams going up and down Swanston Street as you head towards Collins Street, heading north, obviously. And plenty of people about, certainly during peak hour, plenty of activity. But in terms of looking for that golden light, by the time you get to the end of the workday, you're almost out of luck. And so much so that I realised in the relatively short journey from the Young and Jackson pub opposite the Flinders Street Station to Collins Street, which is a walk of all but not even 60 seconds. By the time I reached that Westpac bank on the corner of Collins and Swanston, I realised that I was going to be out of luck. So I'm sitting on the corner, or standing on the corner in Winslow in where? And just thought, oh, what am I going to do here? And it was only about a 10, 15-minute walk back to where I was staying. And I had an epiphany, and I suddenly thought, I got the X100 with me. I got built-in flash. Now, I love flash photography in the street when I see it done really well. Really well. It really is striking and eye-catching when it's done well, but even though I'm a relatively confident person, I'm a very confident person. Some would say arrogant. I'm not arrogant. I'm confident. But I've always viewed flash photography in the street. I've done plenty of flash in portraiture, but in the street, I just look and I think that's one step too far for me. I just couldn't do it. It's hard enough trying to remain discreet without using flash, and kudos to all the wonderful people, particularly the many talented Australian photographers that we have amongst our midst, or in our midst, that's good English, that use it and use it well, but it's just one step too far for me. But for some reason, I'm standing on the corner there of Swanston and Collins, and I'm just thinking, what have I got to lose? You know, I thought, well, I'm out here. Let's see what you can do. It doesn't mean you have to stick your camera up in people's faces. And so what I did first to see how I felt about it was I pointed the camera towards Swanston Street, towards the tram lines, and just tried to snap shots of trams and cyclists and whatnot going by. And again, anyone that knows Melbourne well will know that there's an abundance of those opportunities. And I started doing it, and then obviously the people in the trams can't do anything about it, but even the people getting onto the trams and getting off the trams and the cyclists going by, or even cyclists that were stopped, it didn't seem to bother them. And I would say that I was, 4 metres away from them. And you're probably thinking, yeah, well, 4 metres, of course it's not going to bother you, but the flash was going off. But either way, whether I was in a comfort zone because of the proximity or not, no one seemed to be bothered by it. And all of a sudden I was brazen enough to turn around and start pointing the camera in the direction of the bank, because people that know Melbourne well will know that that illuminated W for the Westpac in that mirror, in the window of that bank there, shines brightly, reflects out onto the pavement. And I just thought, I might be able to create something unique here with the flash hitting the people, and you could see the reflection of the red light. And some of them worked out okay. I'm not trying to be a flash master. But just that 10 or 15 minutes that I spent on that or at that intersection alone gave me enough confidence to go, let's just have a wander around. Let's just see what we can do with this thing. All the while thinking, this is the one time when you could very well get into a difficult conversation with someone on the street, because I've been shooting street for a while now and I'm not sure how I've avoided it, but I've never had a confrontation on the street. So I started wandering around, and at first I thought, well, just go up Swanston and then you may go down Burke, certainly turn right and go up into Chinatown. And I never got really, really close to people consistently for them to worry about it. Or what I should say is I tried to capture people as they were hurriedly walking by. They clearly had some direction and some purpose, and they weren't going to be bothered by it, and everything was going fine. I had a lot of fun with it. As I say, a lot of great photographers around the world, street photographers around the world, use this technique. Renata being one in Melbourne, Mark Davidson, their photography, flash photography I love, and they're two examples of people's work that I see and I think, no way, I couldn't do it. I've heard John ST say the same thing to me, in that, yeah, I'm confident enough on the streets, but flash photography, that's a step too far. So it was working fine. So as I said, I was fairly confident, and at one stage I did in fact make my way down Burke Street, down towards Elizabeth, and I was feeling really confident getting these shots by the purse that's on the ground there, the artwork or the structure or sculpture, whatever they call it there. A couple of great shots I thought of trams going in and out of that stop. And then I thought, well, I'll go across the tram lines at Elizabeth Street and head north along Elizabeth, and then eventually I'll make my way back around to Swanston and come back to my accommodation. And I was at the intersection there at that tram stop at the intersection of Elizabeth and Burke, where I ran into the very first street confrontation I've ever had. There was a young woman who was like goth type in appearance and a great look, a striking look, one of those types of looks on the streets where as a street photographer you're instantly stopped by them. Like, it just captures your imagination and you instantly think that'd be a great photo. But of course, momentarily forgetting that I'm shooting with flash. So she was actually coming off the tram and heading along in between these stainless steel rails, and then I think she was going to head towards Burke Street. And I stopped and pivoted and waited for her to change direction. And then at the last minute, I'd made up my mind that I didn't actually want to take the picture of her. There was something interesting going on in the background with some people beyond her. But in a split second, I was thinking it might be cool if she's right on the edge of the frame. I honestly wasn't specifically taking the photo of her, but she stopped me and asked me the $1 million question: did you just take my photo? And I said, well, kind of, yes and no. I was actually pointing it towards the people behind you. And she remonstrated and just was adamant that I was taking it of her. And I just said, well, I wasn't really. She said, I want you to delete the photo. And I said, I'm not going to delete the photo. I don't need to delete the photo. You're probably not in the photo. And it was going back and forward like that for about 30 seconds. And in the end, I just thought, it's not worth it. All right, I'll show you the back of the camera. And it turned out that the flash didn't fire properly anyway. And I said, well, there you go. Have a look at that. Whether you think I was pointing it at you or not, you're clearly not even in the photo. You know what? She didn't even look at the back of the camera. And she actually called me out loud in front of a lot of people a coward as she walked away. And so in a loud voice, I projected my voice toward her and said, yeah, that's right. We're all out here, us street photographers, just begging to have someone like you walk into our scene so that all of our work can be so appreciated around the world. And I'm sorry if I sound like a narc and a smart ass, but I didn't need to be spoken to like that in the middle of the street. I was stating my case and my rights as a street photographer. I wasn't doing it in a loud voice, obnoxiously. There was no language. There was nothing. I was quite respectful of her the whole time. I also forgot to mention that while she was, or after I told her that I wasn't intending to delete the photograph, before I tried to show the back of the camera, she grabbed my forearm. And I leaned in and I said, you better take your hand off my arm right now. She didn't listen to that. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that. Interesting. Didn't faze me at all. I just kept going. I'd already been shooting for about an hour at this stage. But you know, you take the good with the bad in street photography, right? But that is a classic example of how you need to have your wits about you. You need to have your wits about you on the street anyway, but certainly when you're firing flash, you certainly need to. And you need to be prepared for someone to come up and say, well, you can't hide it, champ. The light just went off. The flash just went off. Why did you do that? We are within our rights, but as we all know, it's a very delicate set of circumstances when someone stops and wants to remonstrate. But you know what? Rather than focus on that negative aspect of the session, I would rather focus on the rest of the session where nobody was bothered. Even when I was pretty close to people, no one was bothered at all. So all in all, it was a productive session, I thought. There's no award-winning shots, but in terms of me having the confidence to try it and keep going, I thought it went pretty well. Will I be doing it again? No. Why would you? Maybe. I just thought, you know, if I had the XT5 or the X Pro 3 with me, it wouldn't have been an option. But because I had the X100 with a built-in flash, I thought, oh, well, the light's going. I don't quite feel like going back, so why not? And for that purpose, it worked out really well. But anyway, flash photography, what do you think? Have you guys tried it? Are you a flash photography person, street person? Have you considered doing it and you're like me, just thinking, well, I'm a bit reticent about that. I don't think I could pull that off. Or have you tried it like me? Did you get into trouble while you were doing it? How did you feel doing it? Going from walking around and being relatively confident about being indiscreet or discreet in the street without flash versus, now I've got the flash turned on. And I think maybe, this just came to me, maybe the advantage with the X100 is, even though it's nowhere near as powerful as the flash systems that go into your hot shoe. But that's the other thing too, right? If you're a flash photographer, you would almost exclusively use the ones that go into the hot shoe. So now you're really not hiding it. You're not surprising anybody because people can see there's a flash unit attached to your camera. The beauty of the X100, although not as powerful as most of the flash units, is no one can see any flash unit on it. They don't know. It's too late. You've taken the photo and you've hit them with the flash. That's another unique advantage of the X100 or the X100s. Do they all have built-in flash right back to the original X100? I think they do. Anyway, interested to know your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.